Welcome to the BNI Partners in Excellence show. Today we have a special surprise, a reversal of roles. The guest becomes the host and the host becomes the guest. So he doesn't need an introduction, but this is Andy Cruz, owner of Cruz Productions. How you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. It's weird being in this chair though.
Yeah.
Like I'm not used to being in this chair. I'm not in this chair like ever. So it's different. I already feel like I'm in the wrong spot.
It's an honor though, man. We've been, I know Emmanuel and I, we were both masterminding. We both wanted to interview you. So thank you for letting me interview you today. Yeah. I want to get into a lot of, what makes up Andy. I think you're one of the most genuinely nice people I've ever met in my life. So it's been an honor to know you and, to be your bro and your friend and do business together and do networking together. And I want to dig in initially, about BNI, specifically about networking and the ins and outs, because you're so good at it and you've had several iterations of your role in BNI, not only different businesses that you've owned and operated, but also different roles in BNI as a director. You were a stakeholder big time with goal planning that's gone national. We'll talk a little bit about that. And you're our current president in our chapter. I always love it when you're our president. You bring such a enthusiasm to the chair, man. And my motto, my credo with BNI when it comes to leading meetings, I'm a firm believer that the meeting goes as the president goes, and as the president goes, the chapter goes. So we've been on a solid trajectory of growth in our chapter, and a large part of that is due to your energy, your drive, and your leadership. So thank you for doing that, man.
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, I think, and part of that I think is something that I've just learned from other people who've led before me in other capacities, even in BNI and even outside BNI. Like, you have to cast a vision of some sort, and we do that as a chapter. But like, that's my job at the front. Is like, I have to remind us we're going towards this thing. Remember, all these efforts are going towards this thing that's eventually going to help all of us, and especially our new members. But I've learned so much in BNI. Like, it's incredible. Not just because I've been in the chapter, but just I've been invited into things that I guess that's the best way to put it. I've been invited into things that are a little bit abnormal and are a little bit outside of the regular chapter membership, and even sometimes outside of the regular like regional stuff. It's kind of unique. Yeah.
Well, you have great leadership capacities, and you just have you're an empathetic leader too. So you lead with the heart, man. So
I grumble softly, is what you're saying.
You grumble softly. No, I think oftentimes you probably take on more than you should. Because
that's true.
Because you're the type of leader that has a mindset of you own it.
But can I say something about that? Yeah. I think part of that is it's more than just like, I want to take off. I want to take on more than I can chew. It's sometimes I've realized that opportunities are on the edges. Yeah, there's obviously going to be stuff at the epicenter of what we do, and there's fun in the fundamentals, and we say those things like in a networking sense, but in a business sense, like you have to do those things. Yeah. But man, sometimes when I like force myself into a situation, amazing things have happened, and I'm like, oh man, that kind of not like worked out, like we just barely got by like the skin of our teeth, like we avoided a catastrophe, but like something cool or creative came out of it. And it's like, so that sometimes that edge can create a little bit of
And well, let me take it back. I didn't mean to come out to say that you take on more than you can chew.
I do.
No, the thing is that you excel at everything that you do. So
no, my wife, my kids, also that guy's taking on more than he does.
The power of no, Andy. That's our next episode.
The
power of no. No, you're phenomenal. So let me ask you, because a lot of our our current members in our group may not know this, and then for our audience too, what was your first foray into BNI? How did you come to know BNI?
Yeah, well, I was originally invited to BNI because of Bruce Anderson, who was the State Farm agency owner back in the day, and we just knew each other like socially, and he had said to me, this was his pitch to me. Hey, I'm in a business networking group. We pass referrals to each other, but I can't give you my referrals or my business unless you're in my group. Like
that's a hard close. You're coming or you're not.
It wasn't even like, you should come check it out. We meet on Wednesdays. Maybe you'll find some opportunities here. It was, I have referrals to pass to you, but I can't pass them unless you're in my group. So I need you to come to this meeting we're having. And it was to a visitor's day. And this is back when we did, you sent letters, and then you did the follow-up calls, and then you got the RSVPs. And for as much as people hated that the process, it worked. We'd always have growth because of that. I'll come back to that in a minute. But that's the reason I got into BNI is because I was invited to a visitor's day, and someone invited me, and that's how everyone gets here at some point. Is someone in your life invites you into this to come check it out, and you go, yeah, I'm gonna do this or I'm not. And that was 2009, and back in 2009, I was in the mortgage industry. And I had started that in 2005 with my cousin, Tanya, who's the broker of record here for the mortgage sales company that my family still owns, and her husband, William, or affectionately we call Memo. Yeah, Uncle Memo, or Uncle Nemo. There's a story behind that. When one of our daughters was born, they sent flowers to the hospital, and the lady at the flower shop wrote, "Love, Tanya and Uncle Nemo," instead of Uncle Memo. So
that's awesome.
The girls,
Captain Nemo.
The girls their whole life have called them Uncle Nemo, and and Finding Nemo had come out, so it was like the lady just thought, oh, it must be Nemo. But what was I saying? Oh, so I was in mortgage in 2009, and this is when like the financial collapse had happened. I mean, the bottom fell out in 08, 09. Everyone's losing everything. Like I ended up losing everything in the mess of all that as well. And you had to really, really be dedicated to trying to stay in mortgage and real estate in 2009 and 10. And 11 and 12 because
and 13 and 14.
I know like every year. But I mean, especially then, dude. I mean, we saw kind of like what we would call a once in a lifetime collapse, like you saw in the 1929 Great Depression collapse. It's like
it's scary.
This is going to happen once in your lifetime. I hope it only happens once in your lifetime. But that's where I found myself. I was like, I need something. Here's the funny thing, and most people don't know this, I don't think. And Jason Turner is my reference for this. Before I knew what BNI was, in our business park here, I was walking around to other businesses with the business card holder, collecting other people's cards so that I could like refer them if I found someone who needed what they did.
Right.
And that's how I met Jason Turner, is because he had an office next to us in a different suite. And I had met him in like 2007. So even before I knew what BNI was, I was like kind of doing the thing, not even knowing that was the thing.
That's awesome. So it was already ingrained in you, the giver's gain mindset. And funny, and I know that if I remember the history correctly, you invited Jason Turner to our chapter.
I did.
As well.
Yeah,
See?
I did.
Always be inviting.
Yeah.
So good. So networking, there's a lot of misconceptions. I think back in the early 2000s, BNI I think was really gaining steam on a national level, even regional too, where it was kind of the new thing, even though it's been around since the 80s.
The 80s,
right?
yeah.
So people became more aware. But there's this misconception about networking. So I wanted to dispel a couple of myths about networking. So and what differentiates BNI from, say your typical, and not knocking on them, but your typical chambers of commerce mixers or these other entities who have mixers at night and so forth. What when you initially thought about networking before joining BNI and this process that we have of really engaging on a weekly basis and then doing the post meeting, one-to-one meetings and so forth, what were your thoughts of networking before BNI?
So my idea about networking was being resourceful, and that actually comes from my experience working at Pepperdine. After I finished college, I worked at the alumni department of the university. Okay. And so for several years, my job was to connect with people and learn about what their career was and like connect alumni. So I was in this resource position where I was planning these either events in LA, Santa Monica, at the campus, or in other parts of the country where we had alumni chapters. And so that was my job. I was like a chapter manager, director of alumni chapters. And so, and at Pepperdine, there's all these people that have been there like their entire career, 20, 30, 40 years. And so they've done this relationship thing their entire adult life. And so I learned from these people right out the gate. And so it was always about resourcefulness at first, because back in that setting, and this is again in the early 2000s, is well, if an alumni comes to us and says, hey, do we have someone in our system who does this or that, or is it expertise at this and that? Like, well, yeah, let's find somebody for you that can help you with that problem. You're a Pepperdine alum, this other person that does this thing, let's connect you. Maybe you guys can help each other out or something like that.
That's awesome.
So I was actually in that situation even before I came into BNI or even into business.
So you were trained in networking leadership, so to speak. Establishing relationships. And I think that a lot of people have a misconception about networking, that it's just, going out for cocktails or happy hours and passing out your card. And there's nothing worse to me than going to a networking event. And there's always that one guy, and it tends to be a guy, usually not the ladies, but it's usually one guy.
It is usually a guy.
One guy, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so and so, and I sell, ABC product, and here's 10 of my business. No, as a matter of fact, here's a whole stack of cards."
Yeah.
I'm like, buddy, I don't know you. I only need
you're gonna need all these. Like, are you sure? How many dollars?
I know for me, there was a lot of reluctance because I had, I've always believed in the power of relationship, networking, and doing business from a relational standpoint and creating strategic partnerships with other professionals. And I had gotten really burned out on going to mixers because it was always just a cocktail party of some sort. It was cliquey. And there was, people were there to sell. And I'm like, hey, I'm not here to buy. So BNI was really a different animal in that regard.
Well, so you're exposing like the problem. So when we started talking about this little segment of the conversation, you're talking about like these networking events, and you mentioned Chamber of Commerce and other organizations, and they're wonderful, and they can do a lot of wonderful things. But it's the composition of what the people who are the participants do that makes a difference. And just like in BNI too, like you can be a 90-minute member and just show up to the meeting and then do nothing else, and that's fine. Yeah. But your attitude's gonna like smoke you out, and your participation's gonna smoke you out. Because if you're gonna participate, you're gonna do really well, and you're gonna invest, and you're gonna get some sort of return on that from your effort. A financial return because of your effort, but you have to be trustworthy. You have to build relationships. Some things take a lot longer than others, especially if you use something that's like really high price ticket or really high trust ticket. Yeah. Taking my parents' retirement account, like, okay, that's a big deal. That's different than getting a haircut down the street. I know I'm using a hair reference. Like, come on, just to hang tight for a second. Yeah, yeah. Not everybody can cut their own hair. Not everybody can do their own will and trust. Not everybody can do their own divorce. Not everybody can do their own car repair. Not everybody can do their own whatever we refer people out for. But the thing about it is that you're talking about is something I learned, and this is where I get pulled into this BNI ecosystem where most people don't get pulled. Is I've been honored to like learn some things directly from Ivan himself, and one of the things that he talked about in director training was the networking disconnect. And I know you know what that is. It's when everyone goes to this networking event or the mixer, and this is how we ask people. Raise your hand if you're here to sell something. Everyone raises their hand.
Right.
Cool, put your hands down. Raise your hand here if you're here to buy something. And like no hands go up. It's that networking disconnect because people are just constantly in selling mode. And the problem with that is that everyone's there to achieve the same thing and usually achieve the same thing, which is nothing.
Yeah.
But the difference is if us who can effectively figure out who it is we need to follow up with and what we might be able to bring value-wise to that, then we've created an opportunity for ourselves in turn. I also learned something really unique about those type of situations is that when people do business card exchange and we meet, I hand you the card. What percentage of people do you think actually follow up and do something after that?
Oh man, it's very low, very, very low. I think most people either put them in a little junk drawer or maybe they toss them.
If you had to pick a number, what percent would you say actually follow up and do something? A phone call, text, or email to the person they got the card from?
I would say it's probably less than 10%.
It's 3%. Last time I checked, it was 3%.
That makes sense.
So here's what that means. If you know that, and you are like Miguel or myself or another BNI member, and you go to a mixer, you go to a chamber, you go to a Rotary, Kiwanis, cocktail hour, and you get that card or you get that like phone tap, and you follow up, you're in that 3% like right away. You're already doing something that is like far and beyond what the majority of the people there are going to do.
Yeah, I've got this rule of thumb, and on the face level, it sounds a little arrogant, and it's not. It doesn't come from a place of arrogance. It actually comes from a place of humility. And when I go to a mixer or a new networking meeting or what have you, where I don't know many people there, I only carry 2 business cards with me. I don't carry a stack. I'm not that guy.
That's so smart.
So I only carry 2, and it's not because they're golden or they're a prize. It's not. So I only carry 2 because when I go to an event, a networking event, my rule is that I have to ask phenomenal questions of the person in front of me or persons in front of me. They have to be intriguing questions. They can't be like, oh, so what do you do for a living? I mean, that's just a cop out, or like, oh, blah blah blah. Where'd you go to school? They have to be more engaging. So I have to engage at a deep level so that the person in front of me feels intrigued enough to ask me for a business card because they want to connect. So if they ask me for a business card, I made a connection. Cool. And then in turn, now I have permission to ask for theirs. right? And so I don't ask for business cards just bluntly or blindly. I mean, and like, hey, give me your business card. I have to have a connection. If I ask for your business card, I really want to follow up with you.
Yeah.
So that I flip the script, and now I have to be interesting. I have to ask them questions about themselves. And the thing about conversations is that if you ask great questions, you know, the other person's like, oh my God, Miguel, he's such a great conversationalist. I'm like, well, I didn't say anything. I just asked you questions.
But what could go really easily overlooked in what you're sharing and what you're really honestly teaching right now is that you go in prepared with what your expectation is and what you're going to do. Yeah. Like there's too much like shooting from the hip. I'm just going to go this thing and then see what happens.
Right.
It's like, what do you mean just see what happens? Like, why are you going without a purpose or some sort of like idea or this awareness of what it is you want with your time?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it has to be like this super rigid black and white scorecard keeping. Like, it's not like that. I'm saying like, why, if you're a professional and we care about the outcome of growing our business or getting an opportunity, why would we go without a plan?
I know.
Why would we go without an idea of what we're hoping to do and what we're hoping to accomplish?
Well, I've observed that of you, that you go in and you engage and you have interesting questions. So I want to ask you, for someone who's not that skilled in networking and growing their business via relationship building, like a la BNI, you know, what are your not go-to questions, but maybe go-to themes of questions that you might recommend someone ask someone else if they don't, you know, if we didn't know each other, what would you ask me, you know, at a mixer or a meeting?
Yeah, so I'll say low level for the lack of a better explanation off the cuff, low level things to like look for or just notice and do. So if it looks like someone's a little bit timid or they're maybe not as jovial and just bursting out with energy, talking to everyone in the room, and they're a little bit more quiet, just ask them what they do.
Yeah.
First, hey, what's up? What's your name? What do you do? And just like an actual answer they can give you, something that's super simple. Ask questions that you know they know the answer to.
Yeah.
Well, when did you start your career? What did you study in college? Or what led you to that? Why did you become interested in that? And they're not necessarily like prying questions, but it's something that you know they know the answer to,
right,
and that can get them talking. And then when they can start talking, then other stuff can kind of come up that you can like kind of go down to different veins of conversation. And I know that may sound super elementary and you're like, wow, duh, that's super obvious. But
the basics work.
But here's the thing though. What's so critical in you saying it that way is that for someone who is uncomfortable in that situation, you doing that may be the difference of how their experience ends or goes altogether. Because it may not happen with somebody else. So those of us who know what to do, it's not our responsibility, but it's our opportunity to go and do that with someone who may not look like they know what they're doing, and then kind of invite them into a conversation that can help them feel comfortable and that they actually got something out of their time too.
Yeah. I've seen you do this regularly, even as a president, when you're trying to organize yourself and get ready to lead a meeting. I've seen you meet a guest who's never been there. You know, they get deer in headlights look. You know the look, like, oh my God, there's a bunch of strangers I don't know.
Yeah, and they're all talking and they're all excited. And it's really early in the morning. What's going on?
No one's really. Should I engage? Do I back out? You know that look, right? But I've seen you do this, and I love that you do this. I take a page from that playbook too. Is I see someone like that, I go up to them and find out what they're there. What's their gig? What are they doing? What are they looking for? Like, oh, you need to meet so and so, and I just walk them straight to that member and like, hey, you need to meet Eddie. He does this, this, and this. You guys will have a lot of synergy. Yeah. So
well, and the sooner you find connection with somebody, or you help them find a connection with somebody else, it's just the easier everything from that point can be.
Yeah. Now, a couple of years ago, well, maybe more than a couple of years ago, you had implemented in our chapter, I think, were we the beta chapter for goal planning?
We were one of them, yeah.
We were,
yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about goal planning.
Well, goal planning in the very beginning honestly had a lot of detail and a lot of complications. It was a very cumbersome project to take on, but it was with the intent that we have as business people to achieve certain milestones and outcomes for our business. But what does that look like if you kind of copy and paste that into the chapter setting? And so it came out of this region in Florida that it was used to be formerly owned by a guy named Tom Fleming, and Tom Fleming was friends with Catherine Lodel, who Catherine used to own San Diego, BNI San Diego franchise, and she's like, okay, team, we're going to try to adopt this. We're looking for chapters that can be showcase chapters. And being a showcase chapter meant certain things. You had to have a certain number of members. You had to, have a certain set of criteria, but you also agreed to go through this process called goal planning. And it really is a the version of what we do now, which even though I'm going to say it's trimmed down, it's actually just more efficient.
I think it's streamlined.
Yeah, nothing really got removed from it. It was just our way to getting towards what the goals has completely been way more streamlined, which I love. The original method was very mathematical, which is not wrong. It just took a lot longer to get to the same outcome of, we're trying to achieve this or that or the other thing.
Yeah, I think initially, on face value, people might think it's a little punitive. It's like, we're keeping score. I'm like, well, we're not keeping score. I mean, yes and no. We're not keeping score, but the way I see it is we're helping each other grow and in certain areas, right?
So well, it goes back to something, again, this is something that Ivan taught us in training. What gets measured gets done.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I don't want to look bad or the light's shining on my activity. It's like, okay, but what gets measured gets done. So if we're going to have this thing that we want to get done, well, we have to measure it. What's our rate of our approach angle of getting there or not getting there? Do we have to speed some things up, turn some things down? And we do this as business people, or I should say, if we're going to take ourselves semi-seriously and hope to have a career or a company that's successful, I'm willing to bet that everyone who's watching this is measuring something.
Right.
They're even if you're time blocking, guess what? You're measuring your time.
Yeah.
If you put stuff on your calendar, you're measuring how long you're going to spend doing something. So we do this, but then there was like this, I don't want to do that for BNI. It's like, you mean the thing that brings you referrals? Why wouldn't you want to do that? Like that actually didn't jive with me at first. I was like, I don't understand. I understand it takes some effort, guys, but like, it's for the thing that you're hoping to get the result from.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And we track, correct me if I'm wrong here, but we track obviously referrals given, referrals received, one-to-ones, which are my, I say that's the secret sauce.
Secret sauce
to
BNI,
secret sauce, man. The one-to-ones, you got to have, face-to-face time on a personal level with people. We track
attendance,
chapter education units.
Yep, chapter education units. Mm-hmm.
And all that stuff leads to hopefully great results. If you're performing on all those facets, then you'll be able to have a level of success from BNI, through BNI and because of BNI. The one thing I wish and I don't know how we can track it. I wish we could track like the keynote keynote presentations that we have every week, where one or two chapter members get to present. I wish we tracked I wish there was a good way to track that and
the frequency for which they speak, or are you saying results from it?
No, the frequency, because I think there's an intrinsic value add to when you're able to present to the entire group and train them on what it is that you do, what types of opportunities you're seeking, and how you can help the referrals that they may gain from the chapter. And I'm saying this on purpose with an angle here, because you're one of the best freaking presenters I've ever met, man. So tell me, what we need to know. What is your game plan when you are getting ready to present, an 8-10 minute presentation, keynote speaker, when you're, all of your presentations are entertaining. Your enthusiasm, your diction, your everything. I know that you have a performance background, so we'll get into that a little bit too. Mm-hmm. But what is your secret sauce or spices that allow you to prepare so greatly each and every time that you present?
So I start with a question. It's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. And I don't think I've actually shared this, but I actually start with a question when I'm building my presentation. The question I'm asking myself is, how can I help every member in the room see themselves in what I'm about to teach?
Beautiful.
Like, how can I help them see their situation, their company, or the people they love that they could be helping in what I'm about to say? And then everything runs through that. So there's a balance between it being like impressive, like, oh yeah, we've qualified ourselves. Here's all these things we've done. Here's an update on this show or this commercial or this thing that kind of validates we know what we're doing. But then there's the thought process, like, well, how did we get here? And I like explaining, like, well, here's the reason you should consider this and the reason you should consider that. And I've even been as bold. I think I did this during our visitors day too. I was like, I don't even care if you use me. I just care that you go do it, because you need to do this for you way more than you need to do it for me, because your business and your company in this age of doing video and marketing the way it is, and even long form conversations like this, it's like you can either do them or you don't. You don't have to. You back in the day, you didn't have to have social media. Yeah. You also, back when websites came out, you didn't have to have that either. Right. You also didn't have to have a cell phone number. So at some point, everyone ends up going, oh, shoot, my industry's moving this direction, or my career's moving this direction, or the tide is going in that direction. And so I'm always thinking about, in my presentations, how do I get people to see themselves in this and that they could be doing this even if they don't use me? I just need them to go do it for themselves. 'Cause I care about them. So I'm even touching my heart. Like I care.
Feel it.
So I come from that place where I know I have 8 minutes and I want every single person in the room to think of themselves or someone they know who could be benefited from this, whatever this is. Sometimes it's me putting a line in the sand and be like, hey, you just got to do it. And if you're not going to do it, I don't know if I can help you. And being that blunt, because it's that whole I can't lead a horse to water thing, can't push a wet noodle. Like some people are going to do it and some won't.
All right, so I hope you guys press rewind on this and listen to this again in slow motion so that you get the basics of how to create and present effectively. So what I gathered from that was instead of putting the spotlight on yourself when you're presenting, you're putting the spotlight on the audience.
Sure.
Right? Am I summarizing correctly?
Yes. The last several presentations I've done, I've highlighted in one form or another the 3 main problems we solve here with Cruz Productions. Number 1 is people, they don't like the way they look or they sound. But the irony of that is we all go out in public every day looking and sounding the way we look and sound.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh, the cameras are on. Oh, no. And again, I'm not.
I'm going to interrupt you there because I have my you know Roberto Monaco, right?
Yes.
Roberto Monaco, I've done a lot of trainings with him and so forth. He's all about
I miss that guy.
I miss him too, man. He's out in the Carolinas. But he would, in the seminars, he'd always have the one lady, I don't like the way that I sound.
Yeah.
And with this big, thick accent, Brazilian accent, well, that is the way that you sound.
Yeah. I know. And it's true. And here's what I'm going to say. And I've said this in our presentation too. And there's probably people watching this that have never seen this presentation is the value that you bring to someone's life to solve their problem or fix their issue is way more important than whether or not they're judging you while you're teaching them how you can help them.
Beautiful.
And so, and we do not apply the same standard. Yeah. When we're on YouTube or we're looking for a solution and I'm watching the solution to the problem I'm trying to fix over here in my life or my business, I'm not like, that guy's part is off.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, her makeup is terrible. Like I'm not sitting from a place of judgment when I'm watching someone who's giving me value that's going to help me with the problem I'm having or whatever. Yeah. So that's one of the main things we help people with, right? Is I don't like the way I look or sound. We can help you overcome that. The second thing is I don't know what to talk about. How is it you've been in business for 20, 30, even 5 years, and you don't know what to talk about? Like, you do it all the time. We write emails talking about the thing we talk about. We take phone calls talking about the thing we talk about. We text answers.
Text about it.
We put on social media stuff we're talking about.
You're at the barbecue with the family. They're asking you about your business. You're talking about it.
And if it's not, and to add insult to injury, every single industry that's in BNI has some sort of industry group that talks about latest news and events, insights, policy changes, new rules and regulations, anything that culturally is related to your business. Like, there's tons of stuff you could talk about and just give your opinion. Here's where I see this way. Here's where I see this that way. You can always have something to talk about. And then the last thing is they don't have a system to follow. So I don't like the way I look or sound. I don't know what to talk about, or I don't have a system to follow. And everyone has one of these problems and sometimes multiple of those problems. And so my presentations are to uncover that, have everyone kind of assess, well, where do I find myself in that? Which one or which two or which three? All three?
Or all three, and maybe a bonus?
Yeah, and then how can we help you with that?
So thank you for sharing that because I don't want to say it's simplistic. It's just simple. It's a simple process to follow.
It's the same 3 problems every time, though, because they all fall in that kind of category.
I find it so intriguing. Well, not intriguing. It's just sometimes I get taken aback by people's fear. I mean, it's normal to feel a fear, stage fright, where there's this reluctance to speak publicly. And I was reading somewhere that the number 1 fear for people is fear of public speaking. Number 2 is death. So people fear being in front of an audience more than dying.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Isn't that crazy?
It's insane. So you broke it down to three basics. And I think that you built your company around that and you're helping people because being on video, storytelling on video, on social media is a form of public speaking. So in essence, you're almost like a public speaking coach and then you're producing. So I want to dive into Cruz Productions and what it is that you do at Cruz Productions. So tell us a little bit about Cruz Productions, the birth of it and the mission of it and how you're helping business owners excel at video marketing and storytelling online.
So Cruz Productions has 2 birthdays, actually technically 3 birthdays. The first birthday is not a known birthday. It's actually when we had to start doing video production back at 9010 brand when I was doing apparel branding. And when we were doing other accounts, we were managing people's apparel and taking photos of their product before it went out or had to go to their online store, their social media. And we had a video component attached to 9010 brand. So it was all clothing, right? It's all apparel, embroidery and silkscreen, all that. But then we had to take photos and then we had to do videos. So sometimes we're making promo stuff as an attachment to our clothing services. And that's actually kind of one of the birthdays. The second birthday, Miguel, is Agent Prolific, which is now Rain West. Yes. But back in the Agent Prolific days, yes. Miguel, you were there, right?
I was there.
it actually is because of your desire to create content. Back in the time when I had closed 9010 brand, there's that whole story about having to close that, and all the people in BNI that had come around and helped out. And I talk about this a lot, man. I give a lot of credit to you for believing in me in that time, and also giving us a shot, because you were like, hey, I want to do this creativity thing, and but I also want to teach this, and I want to record this. And so you had opened a door for me to take that component of video from 9010 brand and do that as a part of the consultative strategy that I was helping you with on the other side. Yeah. And so you're like, hey, I got this need. And it kind of was both those things like hand in glove. And that's like the second birthday of Cruz Productions.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. I mean, dude, the whole Zelia Azov thing was like creative. What's it called when people are on like mania? Yeah, like they're just like so.
It was craziness, contained insanity in an awesome, fun way.
It was part planned, part improv, and like a lot of fun.
It was
fun. And I love the idea. Even I'm making a total detour pit stop here, but I loved your idea of showing the contrasting agents of Miguel and Mikhail, and how there's a stereotypical agent over here who's just all about himself and all about the deal and all about the being popular and bus bench. Power. Oh, bus bench ad. Yes. Power drink. But then there's you, like this total boutique. Let me help you with the problem you have. Don't listen to all these other agents doing this other thing. Like I was like, oh my God, this is brilliant. It's so smart. But it was smart and it was fun. And that was super unique. And so I still to this day I love doing projects like that. I mean,
well, now you have the Pothole Patrol.
Well,
right?
I was gonna say that weaves into the whole Pothole Patrol thing that we did back in the summer of 24 and into the spring, where potholes were a-holes. Yeah. It was that same thing. Like we got to address a serious thing, but in this like silly way that is entertaining, creative, but also like kind of makes the point. Yeah. And then the last birthday is actually when Eddie actually established Cruz Productions as an S Corp. So, awesome. I had, the 9010 video component. I had Agent Prolific doing the video stuff with you. And then we had our actual corporate birthday of the company being like officially a business.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, so for our audience, I created a crazy alter ego and I had this idea. And this is how Cruz Productions can help you. I had this crazy idea that I was like, man, I'm a little insane, but I gotta dive into it, man. I gotta let this guy out of me, right? And I have a theater background, so I'm like, I'm gonna give myself my own role. I'm gonna create this crazy guy. But I had this idea, and where Cruz Productions can really help you, kudos to you, is that if you have an idea and you're not certain how you can do it, because I have a creative mind, but there's some of the things that either I don't have the bandwidth to do, or the skill set, the editing and getting it. I mean, I can edit and do it, but it's going to take me, 100 times longer than it's going to take you. Right. So, and I think as business owners, we have these awesome ideas for marketing, for video, storytelling, etc. But we don't have the bandwidth, and we want to do them. And like, okay, we'll film something, and then it just stays shelved forever because we don't produce it. So, and that's where you guys can come in. So if you guys are looking for help in that regard, where you have a creative idea and you just don't know how to manifest it, his team can help you with that.
I want to say one thing about that, if I can. It's that I kind of had made up this term, like you'll find us at the intersection where business and creativity meet, is because it's that structure within creativity and that creativity of structure. And it's the idea itself, but it has to have a process. Like when you look at pre-production and post-production, it's very mechanical. It's like an assembly line. It goes from this to this to this. And so there's steps you have to follow. But the creative part is it can be as wild and crazy as you want it to be within the boundaries of it still being like believable without subverting your quality qualifications. And that's what you did with Mikhail Zelyarazov. Is like, oh, you know that people act like this. You're actually calling out people in the industry like, yeah, we all know you do this.
Yeah.
And you're like, but we also do this. And that actually came from drumming. I don't know if I ever told you that.
No, I didn't know that. So tell us about drumming, because I know you're an exceptional drummer, man. So
I think I'm an average drummer, to be honest.
pretty good, man.
Well,
if I was in a band, a bass player, slapping the bass, you'd be my drummer.
Oh, that would be a lot. That'd be a lot of fun. I realized this not too long. Well, I guess a while ago, but it really like kind of became concrete recently, which was, as a drummer, my job is to support the entire band in the purpose of fulfilling what the song calls for. That's already written on the sheet. Whatever the music calls for is what you have to do. But there's pockets of creativity where you can do a fill. Your dynamics can change, get louder, softer. And
syncopation.
And that can change show to show. Now, if you're doing like an actual like Broadway show, you're doing theater, like it has to be note for note. Right. But music is creative in its base level. It's creativity, but it's also in order. Music that is out of order isn't enjoyable.
No.
So there's this awesomeness with rock, beauty with jazz, and even opera and all these genres I don't necessarily lean into, but you can see how following the order in a creative way makes something awesome. And it's similar with video. Like, we had to create order here so that the thing we do here has its maximum potential of being creative and engaging within the confines of the system and the structure that's been built.
Yeah, that's why I like working with you with video production, and we're starting a couple new YouTube channels here in the next couple of weeks.
I'm so excited.
You're producing those for us. Really pumped. And for me, the fact that you have everything, you have the system and the processes ready to go. I'm willing and able, and I want to do it. What is the biggest reluctance that your prospects have? If someone reaches out to you, they want to do video, they've been thinking about video, social media, etc. What is the biggest reluctance that most people have? What's the barrier to entry for them to actually get in front of the camera and produce quality videos that go out to the atmosphere?
As you can imagine, it's a little bit different with everybody, but it's really most synonymous with starting a nutrition plan or a gym plan, a workout, whatever. It's really synonymous with that. I know I need to do this. I just got to get started. How do I get started? Where do I go? Who do I talk to? It's the starting part.
How do you get them over? How do you get them over the starting line?
It depends on what the challenge is. Because again, sometimes some of them are easier than others. If you don't have a system, we already have one. Okay, well, that's problem solved. Let's just start.
Beautiful.
Okay, that's easy, right? That's fine. But if you're having a confidence issue, that's going to come at the speed at which you feel confident. Right. And sometimes you actually have to do the thing even before you're going to feel confident. And so I learned this from Greg Houck when he was coaching me many years ago. Some of you remember Greg Houck, was business coach and an amazing trainer.
Coached me too, man.
And he's like, listen, right feelings follow right behaviors. It's not that, I'll do it when I feel right. Like, if I only did stuff after I felt like it was time, like, well, let's be honest. Sometimes I don't feel like washing my car. I'm like, I'll actually wash the car when I feel like it. There are some things I can categorize that way, but not when it comes to like this and making content when you're supposed to. Like, you'll feel better after you do it. And you might cringe a little bit at the beginning, but you use that just like a professional player would look at game film after a basketball game, baseball game, football game, hockey, soccer. What you watch your film and you go, how can I get better? Yeah. And because we film it, it's literally the thing you do. You go back and watch it and you go, I can do this better. I can say less. I can take less pauses. I can slow down. Yeah. Maybe I need to have more expression in my face. And
maybe I need to breathe.
Yeah, so it usually is people just getting started because it's their confidence in themselves, and they're worried that people are going to judge them in the same way that they don't judge.
Right.
Like that's this disconnect.
What's the ratio where what's the most common? And I'm thinking of three psychological barriers that people have. One, people chasing perfection. Perfection is the enemy of done. Right.
That's a killer of progress.
Right. Perfection, chasing. Not knowing what to say, or at least they think they don't know what to say, and then the last one is confidence of being in front of the stage, even though it's in front of a camera. Which is the most common that you find when you're dealing with people who want to do it and are just for some reason or other just keep putting it off and putting it off. They know they need to do it.
It's a blend. It's a blend because it's the talking about and feeling like it has to be perfect kind of together.
Okay.
Because I know they might know what they need to talk about or have some sort of general idea, but then also the desire to want to do it at a really high standard.
Right.
So they're kind of like partners. Like a potato sack, right? Yeah, but you have a leg in the sack and you're trying to run down the field together. It's not really one more than the other. I mean, I guess if you want to really drill down and like get real granular, you can notice over time it might be one that's ahead of the other, but a lot of times they run together. Yeah. Because I think that we want to be perceived as knowledgeable. We want to be perceived as well-spoken. And there are people that they have a little bit of a dialect and they have to work on enunciating very clearly, very intentionally. Yeah. But that does not mean you know less. Like, that's also something that I think is completely changing in this space, is just because you may talk and have a different accent does not equate to you being unknowledgeable about the thing you're talking about.
Well, talking about accents, I go back to Roberto Monaco. He
situation.
He has a very thick Brazilian accent.
Yes.
Right? I love it. I have a high affinity for Brazilian culture. And he at a presentation, he was talking about that because this lady brought up that exact point. Mm-hmm. I have a thick accent. I feel that people don't respect me because of my accent or blah, blah, blah. And she had made up this whole story in her head. Yeah. And she was, God bless her, man. She was vulnerable in front of, I think there was at least 100 people in this little workshop. Wow. And she's being very vulnerable about her psychological barrier, about her accent. And honestly, her accent wasn't that thick. It was just, it was a nice accent. And he has a super thick accent.
Right.
And he said the following. He said, look, my accent's going to do one of two things. One, it's going to make you probably pay attention more to me because you're like, I'm having a tough time understanding him, so I'm going to focus more. So he's like, awesome.
Specifically him saying the word focus.
Focus. He hit the focus.
Yeah, what did that guy just say? He said focus, right? Yes. Okay.
And the second was, it's going to turn you off and you're not going to work with me. I go, but his thing is, if my accent is such a barrier to you, then I don't really want to work with you.
You're not going to be my client anyways.
I don't want to work with you anyway. So thank you for self-selecting yourself.
There's the silent crowd. Okay, there's a silent audience. And I want everyone to really lean in, like literally lean into your phone or your TV you're watching right now. Is there are people who sound and look like you who are looking for someone who sounds and looks like them.
Beautiful. Yeah.
There's someone who's probably bald going, I don't want to go on camera because I'm bald. Like, who cares? You go out in public every day bald. You go whatever. Like there's this getting over ourselves that has to happen at some point. Otherwise, we're just always going to take ourselves too seriously, and we're going to withhold the thing we could be helping people with because of ourselves, not even because of them. Yeah. But just remember, you have a little bit of an accent or a dialect, or you think you talk weird or different. There's someone watching that also talks that way too, who also thinks that the same thing, and they're going to see you doing it and go, "Oh wow, they're doing it." Yeah. How many? I'm going to take a position real quick. How many talent shows do you have to watch where on the surface face value someone go, oh my gosh, there's no way that dude can sing. There's no way that girl can sing. There's no way they have that talent. And they open their mouth and this amazing thing comes out. You're like, that dude's a janitor and he's got this amazing voice. What was that lady, Susan Boyle, many years ago?
Oh,
You're
yeah.
like, oh man, she just looks so homely. And the initial judgment was like, oh, her teeth, her hair. But then she sang and you're like, holy crap. And so that can be super deceiving. And the age of you're only on TV when you're a Hollywood model and that's over. That is 100% over. Mr. Beast is the #1 YouTuber on the entire planet. He is not even a model by any stretch of the imagination. I'm sorry, I don't mean that. I'm not trying to make fun of you, Jimmy. You're not the most good-looking man. I'm not either. But you don't need to be to do this.
It's you just got to tell your story, right?
Everyone's got one.
Well, look at Ed Sheeran. He's not a good-looking guy either, but he's killing it.
Yeah, and I don't even say these things as passing judgment. No. It's just what we call magazine picture beauty, billboard beauty in LA. That's not what it's required to do this and get on camera anymore. That's over.
Yeah. So there was a time right before Sell Your Ass Off, you were embedded with our team, which was awesome. And I had some reluctance about putting out videos and so forth. And we started doing some videos and just doing some social media. And then we were doing some retargeting ads and so forth. And I don't know if I've shared the story with you, but so we were doing some retargeting. And I go to a local coffee shop in Bonita, Donnie's, which we all go after BNI. And there's you start meeting all the locals and the regulars there, right? And
I've never heard this.
this is a cool story, man. So we had done a bunch of videos and then started doing some retargeting. If you remember, we were doing some retargeting, right? And so I'm walking into Donnie's, and one of the regulars, hey, Miguel, I got to talk to you. Oh, shit. Like, what did I do? And we need to talk. Like, okay, let me get my coffee and I'll come to talk to you. What's up? So I go up to her table. I'm like, hey, how are you doing? Older, like retired lady and really nice, sweetheart. She's like, I need to talk to you about my computer. I'm like, oh, okay, senior moment. Right? She's like, you're all over my computer. I'm like, what? What do you mean? She's like, everything I click, your YouTube video comes up. I'm like, oh shit. What did you do to my computer? I'm like, honestly, I didn't do anything to your computer. I'm like, you must have clicked on did you see a video or an ad or something? And you clicked on it. It was like one of my ads.
Oh, that's amazing.
And she's like, yes, I did. But now you're everywhere.
So everyone who wants to hate on retargeting, it worked. It works. And apparently hit your audience, right?
It was hilarious, right? So I wasn't sure if she was mad, so I'm sorry. Like, no, it's impressive. I'm so impressed. Like, you're everywhere. That's really cool. Awesome. So then, I before then I didn't really chat with her. I didn't know her that well. So I started to get to know her a little bit better. I find out she's a writer. She did martial arts. Her husband did martial arts. Really cool lady. So, I would engage her on a deeper level at the local coffee shop. Well, 2 years later, hey, my husband needs to sell his father's home. Boom.
Oh, wow. Like that. Okay. That's awesome. I didn't know that.
It's really cool.
But again, so for everyone watching, like, don't let this pass you by. Like, sometimes it's not instantaneous. It's not like, oh, I made a video yesterday, so today I should be a millionaire. Like, that's just not true for most people either. The whole idea of virality is becoming viral is a whole different topic, but it's having that like patience and doing the work. The result will be there, but you have to do the work. I mean, it's about putting in the reps. And so like I can stop making videos. That's fine. But then they'll stop being watched eventually. And then people seeing us will stop happening. And so it kicks off an entire new kind of lineage of actions or inactions in your life. Right. And that's really cool that even if it was a couple of years later, it still resulted in opportunity.
Well, absolutely. And a great relationship. So I still talk to her. We became really good friends with her.
So cool.
She's giving me tips on like writing for I like to write as well. So she's giving me tips and, it's been awesome. It's been really cool.
I want to tell you, okay, so now that you brought this up, I want to talk about something else that happens. And I see it here because I still do some work with my cousins and I help them on the business side of the Mortgage Hero stuff is we send an email to our clients every week. Every week they get an email. And the email is just the latest podcast episode.
Great.
But here's what happens is people will write back or text or call and they go, hey, I got your email. I'll watch it later, but I need to ask you this question. And they ask whatever. It has nothing to do with what we made. Yeah. You go, well, then why do you make it? It's because we send the email. The point is you're in front of your audience and you're in front of your database. You're in front of your past clients who already know, like, and trust you, who've spent money or you've earned money from by doing the thing you're good at. And we just stay in front of them. And routinely what has happened is that they're having a problem that they've been silently suffering financially, and they finally had enough where they go, raise their hand, I need help. Yeah. And it may not even have anything to do with the topic we covered that week. Yeah. It may not even be something that they have felt comfortable talking about, but they're like, hey, last resort, I am in a lot of debt. I need help. Yeah. Should I sell my house or should I refinance? Should I do a cash out or do I HELOC? What should I do? We had someone last week who said, I'm glad I got your email, but there's nothing you can do for me. I'm getting PCS'd out of San Diego. Yeah. Can you help me find someone who can manage my property? Yeah. That doesn't help the company at all, except for the relationship with the property manager who we know, love, and trust, who knows and loves and trusts us, and it creates an opportunity for him.
So strategic partnerships.
And so there's this part where I'm going to go back to the system. Yeah. Like having a system and creating the content can create these opportunities, whether it's 2 years down the road, it's same week.
So two things. Let's dive into that a little bit because I think as there's a couple of issues I think at hand. Most business owners often forget that, yes, you're a business owner, but you're also a salesperson because you have to generate leads for the business in order for the business to generate revenue to stay in business. And oftentimes, I know in my industry in real estate, I coach agents and I've coached agents in the past. And one of the big issues is that there's I don't know if it's a level of coyness, shyness, fear of rejection. You've already done business with someone, and the best way to get business is from your past clients. And you're staying in touch with the clients. So you have these orphaned clients. You don't stay in touch with them. I don't want to bother them. I don't want to seem pushy. And we're not being pushy. If we believe in our product and the solutions that we deliver, we should be, publishing that. But the way I am able to pivot my agents' minds when I'm coaching them is it's not your past clients' job to remember you. It's not their job to think of your business. It's your job to stay in front of them. So I want to talk about two things that
100%. That is so important.
Cruz Productions helps. It's top of mind awareness and mind share. Right. So in my industry, studies have shown, and this is probably for most industries, I would say this is probably like a blanket statement almost, but in my industry, psychologically, most clients or prospects have the capacity to, at a high level, remember only two agents. Right. So who's gonna have the most frequency of
relevance,
contact, like the most frequent contact, and networking is a contact sport. You have to contact people. So as you're connecting and providing video, emails, etc., it's a combination of touches, right? You get that top of mind awareness. Andy's team, Andy, they just sent me an email. Oh my God, yes, I need to call them. And that mind share, if there's more frequency of contact, you have that space, in their mind.
Yeah, and you kind of, I'm going to say this for just metaphorical purposes. You're putting a lure out there. It's like, hey, if you need what we're talking about or something, just grab on, bite that hook, and let's go. And it's not so I can catch people. It's because sometimes they don't know what to do. People get frozen. You had mentioned this, like in the networking sense, like deer in the headlights. When people come to BNI, like, and some people just freeze, dude. Yeah. And especially if they're like cornered or they're in trouble or they don't want to admit or face the consequence or face the music or situation.
Fight or freeze, right?
Right. And so knowing that is part of the psychological reason why it's like, just be there. Just because you don't know that someone needs to sell their house until they go, hey, I need to sell my house.
Right.
Well, if you never talk to them, then you are doing what you're saying. You're just hoping that they remember you, but it's your job to be remembered. So if you just show up, eventually when they need you, they're going to tell you.
Yeah. And here's the beauty of video. And if you guys have been thinking about doing video and reluctant, please hire Andy's team. They're amazing, effective, cost effective too. But the beauty of story at the end of the day, video production, video is storytelling. And we forget that humans, we are hardwired for story. We are wired from the beginning of time for storytelling. We absorb more knowledge through storytelling, from the ancient cave drawings to the cavemen gathering around the fire, and telling stories of knowledge. Like, hey, don't go up that mountain because there's wolves and snakes. You're gonna die if you go up that mountain. And you tell this beautiful story from the Bible to the Quran to the
all the historical documents, hieroglyphics,
everything is all stories. To
pottery that has painting on it. Like you're on such an important topic or such an important vein of this whole thing, which is that connection between people, right? But then having the story and then recording the story to be shared with those who come behind us. And that's something that when I sit in that chair, I'm interviewing other members or I'm doing other shows, everybody remembers something that made an impact in their life. A person, a window of time, a milestone event, a success, a failure, like everyone remembers that. And I'm saying here, I'm not saying they remember it. I'm saying they remember it because it made an impact in their heart and their life. And part of this for me, which is it's a wonderful value add in having this, is that having all of this documented has given everybody that's done an interview with me something to share about themselves with their spouse, their kids, their family and friends. Like Hansel's video about plumbing and awesome. Him growing. He's got the most views out of all of the BNI Partners in Excellence podcasts we've done here. And he's like, I just sent out my family. And then his response to me was like, so many people I just hadn't been able to tell them the story or share it in that way. And this was a way for him to do that. And it's something I think everyone shares in common. Yeah. There's something that made an impact in your life that you're willing to share.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's funny because, I ask my kids, my kids' friends are, my younger kids, they're in middle school. And I ask a lot of their friends, what do you want to do when you want to grow up? Oh, I want to be an influencer. I want to be a YouTuber. So, I mean, this new generation coming up is just all about streaming. But even us, the older generations, Gen X, even the boomers before us, millennials, we all grew up on TV and video. And there's something really unique that happens in video, something about being inside this little box. You get this almost like a celebrity aspect to it, right? So when if you're viewing someone like, oh, Andy Cruz is a celebrity, and I in talking about influence, when you're in business and you want to influence people to take action, to choose your company to do business with, there's the base level, then there's expert level, and then there's celebrity expert. This is why the Kim Kardashian she's a massive celebrity, right? Whether you like her or dislike her, she's a massive celebrity with a ton of fellowship. They follow her, and but she can sell exercise videos. I don't even know if she works out, but she can sell exercise videos as an expert because she has this celebrity thing. So for your clients, I would think that one of the added value benefits to doing video and having a production team like yours to really work on it and make it look professional, there's that added celebrity status to their company. So
yes, that can be an outcome of it. But what I want everyone to remember is that you used to have to be a celebrity in order to make it to the television.
Exactly.
That's completely changed now. And it's actually went out in our most recent newsletter. I shared the Nielsen ratings for television streaming in December of 2024. And 43.3% of television that was consumed on TV was streamed content.
Yeah.
In that section, 11.1% was YouTube. And
okay, how does that compare to Netflix?
8.5% was Netflix. So get your mind around that.
Go back. So 11%.
11.1% of streamed content was YouTube watch. 8.5% was Netflix. Like Disney Plus was 2.1%. Wow. Prime Video, I think, was 4 or 4.3 or something. Prime. Okay, these people are spending hundreds of millions of dollars on their catalog, on their content and again, not criticize. I love stuff that's on all of those different platforms, but YouTube is user generated.
How much does it cost to be on YouTube?
Well, it depends on you, right? Like you can get on your phone and just record free, right? Set up a YouTube account for free. You could do it on your phone. Like there's so many things that you can just do that are like at your fingertips right now. Yeah. It's just a matter of willingness to do it and being okay with the process. Like it sounds so cliche to be like, just fall in love with the process. Well, I really want the outcome, but yet I have to like the process because that's where the refinement happens. That's where you can measure. What gets measured gets done. What you like and dislike can be altered and changed. What you find is successful, you can do more of. What isn't working, you just stop doing. There's things I've tried that I did for a long time and I stopped doing. Yeah. No one here probably knows. I did this little segment every week for 4 years straight. 4 years straight called Monday Mortgage Minute.
I remember that.
And it was a minute to 3 minutes. And I just talked about economics, what was coming up. It was a dud. It was total flat. I did 210 episodes. Wow. And it didn't go anywhere. Yeah. So I just stopped doing it. I'm like, okay, well, that didn't work.
Yeah.
Now what do I do?
You didn't quit on the first episode, right?
No, 210.
You tested it. So you've got to test and see what happens, and then see what kind of following you get.
So
right?
what's interesting about that? I guess it's kind of a neat little case study. Is that it actually started in 2018, end of 18, early 19, and I kind of just did it as like a kind of getting into video. And at the time, I was helping you on that side of the creativity, but I was doing it here to like, how do we talk to our clients? And then when the shutdown happened in 2020, it was the only way to talk to our clients. Video. And so every week I was making this thing in 2020, 21, 22, 23, and I finally killed it in 24. Yeah. And it's like, it's just not going anywhere. It's not helping us, and that's okay.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, with video. So video's been around for a long time. I mean, it's been a long time. I mean, I'll say independent video like we have now with YouTube and social media. It's been around for at least since 2008, right? So YouTube was what, 2009, 2010?
I don't know. I want to say it started in 2005 in concept, but it didn't take on until.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't even what it is now. YouTube was something else. I'm trying to remember what it was.
Yeah, in 2007, I asked a friend of mine. I said, "Hey, I want a video that comes up on my website that's us saying, 'Hi, welcome to our website.'" Dada. He goes, "You mean the YouTube?" I was like, "What's YouTube?" This was I remember it was 2007 because our office was at the end of this building. We had a second physical location. And I remember it was 2007. It was my friend who was in the internet space, and he's like, "You mean like YouTube?" I was like, "What's YouTube?"
Yeah. No.
So, So
it's been around almost 20 years. But it wasn't until the pandemic where I felt that adoption of video, and I knew, I'm like, oh, this is here to this is is taking over. When, during the pandemic, my mother, who's a boomer, the 71-ish, she was like, let's do a Zoom call. I'm like, okay. Cool.
Oh, all right.
Like, all right, Zoom's
We're
on.
here now.
Right. So let's talk. So video is here to stay. We've known that. It's been, but now it's for the people. Video for the people.
Yeah, and by the people,
and
broadly.
Exactly. So that being the case, Cruz Productions, what are some of the offerings that you have to get someone started? Like your basic packages, or not packages,
Sure.
but how do you, let's talk about the path, the easiest path to get onboarded with Cruz Productions, and how you can help a business owner. So be it a solopreneur or an established large company.
There's a couple things that are really easy, kind of entry-level stuff to do. The first one is do long-form conversation like this, is sit down, you host, have a guest, talk about something related to your industry, your interests, or things like that. That's super easy. We got the cameras, the audio is here, we got the lights, we got the setting, and we have our post-production stuff like dialed in. That's kind of number one. Number two is, over here on this camera, there's a teleprompter. And if you want to make social media content that is specifically curated for a specific keyword or niche product or service, come and use the teleprompter. We just put on the iPad, you read it, you get as many takes as you want. You're basically just renting the room for an hour, and you can make as many as you want. We have a former BNI member who that's what she was doing to make her quarterly content. Beautiful. She'd write like 10 to 12 60-second scripts, and then she'd practice them. We load the teleprompter, and she would just sit here and read them, change a shirt, new shirt, read the next one, new shirt, read the next one. And so in 1 hour, we got a month or 2 or 3 months worth of content by sharing one reel a week. And that's another very simple entry level. Awesome. Is think about what it is you want to have cataloged that you can point people to regularly, and then just come and record those things. And then the last thing I'd say is really, it's more promotional in nature, but it's kind of like the business sizzle, website welcome, that kind of thing, where it's like it's a one-off where I need a 60-second intro to my business when people land on my website that says who we are, how we can help them, etc. So there's a bridge between that person picking up the call and talking to somebody, they can see something. And that kind of goes hand in hand with the other part, which is to do like a business promo. It could be 30 seconds. It could be 60 seconds. And I'll actually shout out Chris Senna, former BNI member too, with ProTech Painting. During the shutdown, he was sponsoring all these industry gatherings that used to be held in person. The Hotel Association and the HOA Management Group and whatever. And so ProTech Painting, trying to get commercial painting gigs, would be sponsoring all these events that were held in person. And they would get to go and stand up and give a sponsor highlight.
Beautiful.
Well, you can't do that if you're not meeting in person. Yeah. So we made a video for him to play on Zoom in all these industry conferences that highlighted ProTech Painting, their years of experience, expertise, size of team, size of jobs. And it was just we can meet you wherever your job needs us to meet you at. And those are super simple and easy to do.
Awesome. Are you guys able to help individuals with creating webinars? Or at least the video content for it.
Yeah, so we have done a conference or webinar post-production. So it's usually, if you're doing it on Zoom, you're recording it, and then we're going to layer your video of you talking onto the slides themselves for anyone who missed it or needs to have a second pass at the content.
You've done that for us for live ones, too.
We have done that for live ones. So that's a little bit more selective based on the location. Right. Some locations, you have to be on like their specific union list or stuff like that. But if it's like a private location, I can show up with cameras and do that kind of stuff. But being able to grab hold of what you taught in person in the room or online, and then layer that with the slides and the education you're delivering or the training you're delivering is something we've done in a handful of cases too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, what's the number one tip? Not number one tip, but your best go-to tip for someone who is reluctant but wants to do it, and they're losing sleep over it because I got to do this, but I don't want to. I'm scared. What are you gonna?
It's really a question. I already know the question. It's if you're not going to do it now, what needs to change so you will?
All right.
That's it. If you're not going to do it now, what needs to change in your life so you will? Because they'll have an answer. Yeah. And sometimes the answer is nothing. Yeah. And that's all they need. They just needed to hear themselves say nothing's in my way. Yeah. Like their mind might be yelling at them that there's something in their way, but there might be nothing in their way. And then if they answer and they have another question and there is something in the way, guess what we go attack? The thing that's in the way. Oh, my schedule or my budget or my whatever, creativity, my confidence.
I don't have time.
And we do, okay, that's fine. And then there's ways to figure that out so that block can be moved, and now it's not any reason for you to delay in starting.
So I practice a meditation, transcendental meditation, and part of the process with that type of TM meditation is 20 minutes a day. The goal is to do it twice a day for 20 minutes each time, so 40 minutes. But one of the teachers, the saying was, because a lot of people were reluctant, well, I don't have 20 minutes. So he said this: if you don't have 20 minutes, you need 20 minutes.
So smart and so wise.
Right. So if you don't have 20 minutes to do some video, you need 20 minutes to do video.
And I think one of the irony, one of the most ironic parts to me is if people do have a time issue, they actually are spending the bulk of their time every day making the content, and it's just not being recorded.
Yeah.
They're at their work, doing their job, answering questions, fielding phone calls, replying to emails, texting. They're actually doing it. There's just no way to capture it. But they're creating content every day.
To that note, when you were embedded with us, you helped us see the light on that note, because we were creating some video content, but we needed some more content, written content as well for our website. And like racking our heads here, like, oh, what else do we write about? And you're like, dude, you have all these transactions, case studies.
The video is the blog. It is the article. Right. The case study is the video. Like, they go together.
Talk about the issues of the transaction you just had. Oh my God, yeah, that's phenomenal. So we did a blog post it was a case study, and then we did a video around it. So we doubled down. Also, and I think you helped us with this. There's you can be a creator, and I think people are reluctant to be a creator because there's the word creativity in it. But I'll always say this, and I coach my agents this way too, is you could be a content creator or you could be a content curator. So you can curate other people's content and give it your spin, your opinion, and how that impacts. I mean, talking about, an article that came out, you can give a review of the article and your thoughts on the article. Like, well, I think the article missed this, and you could do a video around that. And so there's creation and there's curation, and both work.
The systems the systems and platforms, they want this because the people on the platforms also want this. I can't believe I didn't say this yet, but I actually started my own YouTube channel out of frustration. But it was to solve a problem. So I had to spend time to save time. So here's what happened. Back when I was still doing mortgages, I got the same set of questions routinely, and I had to explain it every time on the phone, or I had to write an email, whatever. And I didn't have it templated, but I knew the answer in my mind all the time. And the very first one I did was how to write a gift letter. So if someone gives you gift funds to like buy a house or a down payment or to closing costs, the underwriter will say, I need you to write a gift letter. Or a letter of explanation, or both. And so I just was in this season where I had to answer that so frequently, I was fed up. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do a screen recording, and I'm going to do a voiceover. I'm going to explain what a gift letter is. I'm going to explain what a letter of explanation, how to look up your taxes, how to fill out the credit card authorization form, how to read your property. Beautiful. And to this day, people still watch the which is the one they watch the most? The letter of explanation. What is it? It's literally a minute and 43 seconds, and it's what is the letter of explanation and how to write it. And I'm all stuffy, saying, "Hi, this is Andy Cruz, and today I'm going to explain how to." It was so bad.
And you never know what's going to resonate with somebody, right?
But here's the thing, and the reason I'm saying it's so bad is to one, I'm going to admit it was bad. Number two, I started. It was to solve a problem, and guess who doesn't care that it's bad? The people looking for the answer. Yeah. They're like, I just need someone to tell me what is a freaking LOE. Yeah. Why does my loan officer or my realtor say we need an LOE? What is an LOE? So I explained it, gave an example, and that's like my most watched YouTube video. And I made it out of frustration. Yeah. But it has saved me back then, when I was doing loans, it saved me so much time, because what happens when you're not available? What happens when you're recording a show like this and your client is looking for an answer about whatever? It's an FAQ you've answered 100 times. Yeah. Like someone right now is probably looking up letter of explanation, and I'm doing this with you right now.
Yeah, beautiful.
So,
and we've used video too. I think for that, I mean, not only train your consumers and prospects, but train your team. So we've used video screen capture with voiceover. Hey, this is how you do a search. This is how you do a comparative market analysis. And my assistant, Alex, who's phenomenal, she's done videos for our VA who's in the Philippines to train her on, and so it's super effective videos. Again, it's all stories, it's audio. We want to we want to engage on that level.
Yeah.
So for those individuals who are watching this and like are maybe thinking like, okay, cool, I need to do some video. I need to work with Andy. Where can people reach you?
It's pretty simple. You can reach out to us at cruzproductionsinc.com. You can also make a comment on this video. YouTube is not really a fan of putting your email in the comment box or us putting our email in the box. So what you could do is in the description box of this specific video, you'll find the web address and you'll also find my email address. Just send us a message. Let us know what it is you need help with, what you want to make, or what your questions are, so we can help kind of uncover what those barriers might be and help you get started.
So earlier you said, as we're wrapping this up, you said, you're a drummer. I know that you're a drummer. Some people may have not known that you're an awesome drummer. So let me ask you a question. Top 5 drummers. Your favorite drummers, jeez. Or bands with the best drummer.
Okay, well, when I was really in my heyday of like trying to refine how I drummed, I watched a lot of Carter Beauford from Dave Matthews Band. Now, I was interested in like Dave Matthews as a group. Man, they've gotten so much crap as time has gone on. I'm realizing this right now. Like, wow, people really like that band. His precision and his like how powerfully he played, and how like dynamically and like he just did stuff. I'm like, I don't know how the human body does that. I can't make my body move a lot faster than it does. And like there's this guy, and I'm like, what is happening here? Neil Peart is another one that some people know just because of the band Rush. Again, I'm not even a Rush fan. Sorry for all you Rush fans. I'm not a Rush fan. But like Neil Peart was like this. He was like this wizard on the drums. There's older guys like Buddy Rich, Dave Weckl, like these old school, like more like pioneers of certain styles or sounds. Gosh, there are quite a few of them. And I have to say, right now, because of the internet and YouTube and social media, you get to survey so much more talent. Like you said 5, and I'm thinking of like 5 more I could still talk about right now. And oh my God, Dennis Chambers is another one. Most people don't know who Dennis Chambers is, but he's just a phenomenal drummer. Oh my gosh, there's a guy who's from Bonita, and some people might know him. His name's Elon Rubin, and he plays for Nine Inch Nails. So when he was a young kid, him and his brothers were here, and they made a band called FON, Freak of Nature. Now, some people might know this at this point in his career because he plays for Nine Inch Nails. But Elon Rubin, his older brother's Aaron. I went to high school with Aaron. We were in the music program together. I want to say he was 13, and he was on like the Warped tour.
Wow!
Like he was shredding back when he was like a kid, and so now he's with Nine Inch Nails and like does his own projects and stuff like that. So I could probably go on for days about just the way different drummers have like impacted the way I play and then what I watch. But man, I am on that hot pursuit to be better still. Yeah, I am currently, and I'll admit that I'm currently dissatisfied with my level of playing, because I feel like for the amount of years I've played, I should sound different.
You sound amazing.
I should sound more refined, and I still feel like I play a little clunky. I still play a little like caveman-y, because I just don't put as much time into the precision part, and I'm just enjoying it so much that I'll let my what's the word, like my technique slide in exchange for some enthusiasm.
Right. I get it. I feel that same way in jiu-jitsu. I'm like, I just want to smash, but the technique.
Yeah.
So, with drummers, I find it interesting, like Phil Collins.
Oh, see, that's another. I didn't even mention Phil Collins. Jeez.
Yeah, come on, that little break in what's the song? In the Air Tonight. Oh my God, that's just like play that. That should be my
everybody
walk-up.
Knows it.
That should be my walk-up song.
It's so famous. It's iconic.
Dave Grohl, Foo Fighters, man. Yes. I saw a video with him that he was just mimicking all these disco riffs from the Gap Band.
Yeah, dude.
So I'm like, wow, that's freaking awesome, man. So
yeah, I mean, John Bonham from Led Zeppelin. Ooh. Like John Bonham was another great drummer. Like, I can talk about all these. Like, there's so many. Here's what I'll say. There's as much as there's so many similarities in what my kind of role is at Cruz Productions, it's really synonymous with drumming.
Yeah.
Like I have to see the whole thing. I have to understand there's a crowd in front of us, whether it's online or it's in person. There's a band, there's a cast of characters. There's a crew, like right now, there's crew behind the camera. Caitlin, you're doing such a good job, and I'm really proud of you.
Amazing.
I'm really proud of your dad. And so there's a crew that is going to run a show, and there's going to be a lead singer. The lead singer is where the focus is at. My job as a drummer is to support that, make sure that the song comes out the way it's supposed to come, the show goes the way it's supposed to go, the audience gets what they want to get. There's another parallel, and I won't go into it, but it's being a catcher in baseball. You literally sit behind the plate and watch the whole field. You can see the coaches on both sides, you see all the players. You're calling the play with the pitcher, or calling the pitch with the pitcher, unless it's coming from the dugout. And then you have to know situational awareness. Who's on first, second, third? How many outs are there? What inning is it? Are we winning? Are we losing? What's this batter's average? Does he hit home runs on fastballs or curveballs? Do you pitch him away, inside, up tight? Like, should we intentional walk him? You know? Oh, he's cold today? Throw it down the middle. High heat, 96. Let's go. Like, there's all this stuff you have to be aware of, and it's similar in drumming, and it's similar in what we do now,
That's
too.
why catchers make the best baseball managers, right?
A lot of,
right?
Yes, but I think a lot of that has to do, yes, there is that. And there's also the personality part of managing a baseball team, which is like you have to be followable. Like, you can be, there's so many players that are really great players, and they're terrible managers.
True.
They're just not good at managing, or they're not good at coaching because they were good at being great.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, you're good at being great. That's awesome. But that doesn't necessarily translate. Like Bill Belichick, does anybody talk about his football career? No. We talk about his coaching career. Right. Andy Reid, we talk about him in football? No, we talk about him as a coach.
Yeah. I think that a lot of businesses make that mistake. They'll take their top producing salesperson, like, hey, we want you to be the manager. I'm like, well, just because he or she is a great salesperson doesn't make them the best leader.
First break all the rules. Yeah. There you go. That's that right there.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it.
And now discover your strengths. That's right from that, man.
That's it.
Good call.
Yeah. Right. So, man, there's so many things I want to talk to you about. We're running out of time. Andy, I want to thank you, man, for always being an amazing, giving leader, a phenomenal role model, a great dad, great friend, great husband to your wife. You know, there's so many things I wanted to talk to you about. We'll have to do another one so we can dive deep into.
Let's do it. There's a lot there, man.
Into Andy Cruz, the world of Andy Cruz.
I want people to know about the part of my life where you were a really instrumental part, and we'll have to do that at different. I know I talked about when I was the host and you were the guest. You can do that all you want, bro. You can do that all you want. But there was a key window of my life where a number of people helped me in so many profound ways, and you are one of them. And I want to be able to tell that story in its fullness, because there's some stuff I share, but still people just haven't known, and they don't know where I was coming from and how we got here.
Yeah, no, so I want to do another episode. I want to interview you a little bit more on the personal level, so that people know the high quality of person that you are, man.
Refined by fire, dude, for sure.
My brother. Yeah, yes, you are.
If I could also blame my hair loss on the fire, that would be super cool. That's just not the case, but it would be a neat little kind of.
Well, man, if you put a cape on you right now, you'd look like an amazing superhero.
Oh, my God. Oh, dude. Did you see that?
I did see that. It was freaking amazing. I was like,
Bill made that Superman AI.
It was so good.
Terrible. I was like, I'm not sure if this is better or worse.
It was so good.
I don't know.
Thank you guys for joining us. Again, if you want to reach Andy, you can reach him at where?
CruzProductionsInc.com, or you can email me. The email's in the description box below.
Yes. Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next week.